I'm going to go ahead with the meeting beginning ritual.
起立，面向佛堂，参加三鞠躬、一鞠躬、再鞠躬、三鞠躬，参加各位点传是一鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。Please be seated.
My plan here is to begin a series of presentations on Derek's book, the Tao of Daily Life, this being the first one, Chapter 1. And of course, those of you who are familiar with the book, and many of you have already read it and put it into practice, I certainly have had the good fortune of reading it and working with it. In fact, even though I've read it, I still use it every day. It's one of those books where, when you find a good book, you can read it over and over, and this one's particularly good for that because it gives you something small to work on every day to help align yourself with the Tao, and that's a great thing. So I'm very lucky. I've had the book for many years now because it's been out for a bit, and so that's what my intention with these presentations will be to take one chapter at a time, and it may take a while, and certainly everything in the book I haven't mastered yet. But it's things that I've definitely had a chance to work on at least a little bit, and I hope to be able to share some practical tips on, how to maybe things that I've tried that have worked, and maybe some things I've tried that didn't work so well. And so I hope it'll be helpful to everyone. So the first one is today, the Tao of Beginning, a fresh start. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it here. So I wanted to start out with the Tao Te Ching, chapter 64, just an excerpt from it. A tree thick enough to embrace grows from a tiny sapling. A tower of 9 levels starts from the dirt heap. A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. I think the most memorable line in this beautiful poetry is a journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. And I know many of the people connecting to this meeting today have connected for many years, and I'm sure you've heard Derek and Bill, and probably Ed too, I think, has said it. That line, a journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet, is often mistranslated. And I just wanted to point out how fortunate we are to have Derek to do these translations for us, to bring this information from the ancients to life for a Western audience, and how grateful I am for him doing that. He talks about how fortunate we are to have Ed and Bill with their mastery of martial arts and the presentations they give, and I won't argue with them one bit about that. I love both of their presentations so much, but I just want to point out that how lucky we are to have Derek, who brings these ancient Chinese teachings to life for a Western audience for us, because I know many people in this tuning in today have somewhat of a mastery of Chinese. I have to say I lack in that tremendously. I mean, when people say, when I look at Chinese, it's like Greek to me. That's kind of like how I am looking at it. It's kind of like Greek to me. But thanks to Derek, these teachings come to life. So I just wanted to throw out a thank you there for that. So I want to jump into it a little bit here. Let's see. So, forgive me a second while I just auto-hide this. Okay. Life is full of beginnings. Every day is a new opportunity to improve and start a new endeavor for self-improvement using the Tao teachings. That really is true. When we're beginning something, it's always good to not think that we have to do it all at once, but to start in a small way, and to put that take a sort of a baby step, and then you just sort of build on your baby steps. It's not like you have to achieve it all at once. And of course, every day is a beginning. Beginnings are not just for beginners. It's good to regularly embark on new tasks for transforming our lives. Every day is truly a gift. We only get to work on ourselves right now in this life, specifically this present moment. And, who's to say, how many lifetimes we've had in the past to work on it, or how many lifetimes in the future we'll have to work on it. I know for me, as generally someone who practices the Tao in a secular way, and who has generally a very skeptical nature, it took me a long time to embrace the idea of reincarnation and so forth. And it was really Bill who helped me get my hands around it. or get my mind around it. But the point is, regardless of how many past lives we have or how many future lives we're going to have, the one that we have to focus on is this one in front of us, the one we've been given, this gift we have right now. Because this is for sure the for sure moment that we can work on it. And it's in the present moment that we can do that, whether it's beginning or even if we're further down the road. So I wanted to put in a picture of a morning sunrise here. Just as a pictorial reminder that every day truly is a beginning, that we don't have to accomplish it all at once, but change doesn't necessarily come, in fact rarely does it come in large sweeping movements. More often than not, it's incremental steps that bring the most meaningful change over time. And that's really what the Tao does. I know when I walked into the temple almost 8 years ago now, when I first started going, I think Derek sensed my zealousness, my maybe over-zealousness to absorb these teachings. And I remember he told me, he goes, Alex, he goes, you don't have to do it all at once. You just take it one day at a time. You just take it slow. And how right he was. It's a slow process, but in gradual steps, and it's okay to start small and work your way slowly up. And I've been working on it for really even years before I came to the temple. I was fortunate enough to discover Derek's website and pour through it. So, but even after 10 years of studying these teachings, I realize, of course, I still have a long way to go, but I still reread Derek's books. I still try to my best to put the teachings into action. It's a constant process, but it's one that's enjoyable. It's one that makes life worth living as you go through it. So my third point here, when beginning, we should remember to begin with the foundation and work our way up. Beginnings are opportunities to practice humility and to learn. And this is very true. If you've ever been in the position to start a new job, and I think many of us have been in that position. I've been in that position a few times. I think the best advice anyone can ever give you is to, keep your mouth shut, keep your eyes and ears open, and just listen and learn. Even if you think there's something you can bring to the table, it's always good to be humble, to be observant, and to learn things first, and then to figure out how you can contribute. And let that unfold naturally and not rush into it. And to take your time and do it slowly. But it's surprising when you talk about beginnings. Unfortunately, there's many people who don't want to begin. And you may say, well, what do I mean by that? And there's a story from one of Derek's books. That book is The Tao of Daily Life, called The Third Floor, that really illustrates this. And I know many of you probably remember the story, but I'm just going to briefly retell it because it really punctuates the point that I'd like to make today. And so the story goes like this. A couple of wealthy people run into each other, and one wealthy man notices another wealthy man's beautiful home. It's a 3-story home. And he talks about it, and he tells him what a beautiful home it is, and the other man invites him in to see it, to give him a little tour of it. And when they get to the top of the 3rd floor, there's this beautiful, breathtaking view. And the visitor, the man who sees it, he absolutely loves it. He adores it. He thinks it's wonderful. And he thinks to himself, this is the kind of house that I would like. And so he goes home and he finds a builder and he describes the house. And the builder tells him, hey, you're in luck. I'm actually the builder who built that house. I'd be glad to help you. And so the man hires the builder. And the builder begins right away. And as he's begins the building process, the man comes by to check on the progress of things. And what he sees is that the workers are there and they're busily working and they're beginning to prep for laying the foundation. And he goes up to the builder and he says, what are you doing? And the builder says, well, we're laying the foundation. And the man says, why are you doing that? And the builder at first thinks he's kidding, and so, but he says, hey, he's paying to do the project. I'll play along. And he goes, well, we need to lay the foundation so that we can put the 1st floor on top of the foundation. And he goes, why do we need a 1st floor? And the the builder's puzzled, and he goes, well, we have to have the first floor in order to then lay the second floor. And he goes, and why do we need the second floor? And at this point, the builder's really confused, because he realizes that the guy's not joking, that he's serious, and he says, okay, I guess, well, we have the second floor so that we can lay the third floor on it. And the wealthy man says, he goes, oh, thank goodness I showed up today. You know what? Don't worry about laying the foundation or the first floor or the second floor. I just want the third floor. So that should save us a lot of time and money. Can you just get on making the third floor? And of course, the story is ridiculous, and it's meant to be ridiculous. And anyone who reads it or just hearing me retell it, I'm sure you recognize immediately the ridiculousness of the story. But as ridiculous as the story sounds, you know, figuratively, this really is true. How many people do this? They want the pinnacle without going through the trouble of beginning. You know, humbly beginning, laying the foundations, whatever the subsequent steps are before you reach the pinnacle. And even, of course, once you reach the pinnacle or reach a higher level, it requires, you know, maintenance. You don't just rest on your laurels once you've achieved something. It takes, you know, you have to continue. And, you know, Bill illustrates this very well when he talks about when people come to him wanting him to, he describes it this way: people come to him and they want him to turn them into Bruce Lee inside of a month. He often says that. And you know, forget about the fact that their motivations are all wrong, but just that people think that they can just do that they can just have the pinnacle without beginning, without recognizing the fact that, you know, Bill and Ed have put in like 30 years of work and practice in learning the high level that they have. And not only that, but, you know, recently Bill talked about with his health issues and so forth, he still has to work to maintain his high level. And so even when you get there, it still requires effort. And but so many people these days, in our society, especially our society, because it offers all these quick fixes, and we think we can have the pinnacle, you know, by taking shortcuts, but it's just not the case. The simple fact is we have to begin, and it's okay to begin small. You don't have to, you know, reach the third floor in one leap. It's a slow process, certainly worth doing. And of course, beginnings set the tone for our future success. That's why we should begin with care to do things in a balanced way. I can tell you, in my life, I've learned this the hard way, unfortunately. I've been way out of balance, either wanting to achieve things too fast or being impatient and so forth. But, you know, the key to maintaining balance is realizing that you don't have to do a whole lot to bring things into balance. Sometimes just a small adjustment can bring things into balance, and that's why the Tao of Joy is such a great book, because each chapter is a little step towards improvement. And of course, perseverance is the key to achievement of our goals. We must work to consistently practice the teachings. And of course, that's true. As I've said with the example of Bill and Ed too, both of them with their having some health issues, realize that they have to continually work with the changing challenges that life brings you to maintain the high level that they practice. And of course, they do that. And it's the same thing with anyone when you're beginning. It takes perseverance and maintenance to keep going in that fashion. And so I want to start to sum it up here a bit. There are always new beginnings in life. Like I said, every day is a new challenge, a new opportunity to get a little further ahead, to practice something that will bring us further along the path that we all walk together. Beginnings aren't just for beginners. You know, thinking of Bill's example of, even though he has achieved a very high level in his martial arts practice, he still begins every day with new challenges to maintain that high level. And of course, as Derek taught me, it's important to keep your start small. You don't have to do it all at once. That giant sweeping change is not the norm. I mean, I'm not saying it can't ever happen. I'm sure there are cases. But generally speaking, with spiritual growth. It's those small steps, and not only with spiritual growth. To be honest, with all change, change comes in monumentally small steps. But if you persevere, you certainly can get there. And beginnings set the tone for the future steps we take. So it's important to begin carefully, to do things in the correct way, and in trusting your instincts, and you can achieve that. You just trust your instincts and take that one step. Just put one foot in front of the other, and off you go out the door on your way to growth and transformation. And of course, as I said, perseverance is the key to success. So we all have to keep walking the path. And I certainly know in my life that you can't rest in your laurels, that you have to build upon each achievement and go forward. And of course, like I said, I've been studying the Tao for 10 years, and I'm nowhere near achieving the things that I want to achieve as far as being the best person I could be, to contribute the most I can to reach my full potential. I still, that is my goal, and one that I work on. But I realize now that you take it slow, you let things unfold naturally, you do it as calmly and as carefully as possible. And when I say carefully, to do things in a way where we don't hurt others. That's one of the things I often tell myself when I wake up in the morning is, I remember years ago when I was studying to be an EMT, one of the things they teach you is when you're helping people in an emergency situation is to do no harm, that you're there to assist, and one of the things you have to be very careful is to do no harm. So I often think of that, even though I'm not involved in the medical profession in any way anymore, but I think of that it's important in your life to do no harm, and it's easy to do harm usually with our mouth, and often because of our feelings that get in the way, and our ego, of course, is the thing that gets hurt. And I think of when my ego gets hurt, so those are the things that set up the things that I've done that I most regret in life. And so battling the ego is a constant thing that we begin with. We begin each day battling that. I haven't killed mine yet, but I'm working on it. And I'm thankful, too, that I have Wendy to help me with that, too. I won't go into the specific, but recently my ego got very hurt, and I reacted very badly. Fortunately, there wasn't much outward that happened because, of years of recognizing. But still, Wendy reminded me, that I need to let it go. And of course, I realize that the true self can really never be hurt. But sometimes, when you have an ego going at you, it's easy to forget that and to feel the feelings of hurt that we all encounter from time to time. And so I want to end my presentation here with a book recommendation for those of you who haven't read it, or even if you have read it, it might be worth pulling out and reading again. The Tao of Joy Every Day, a great book to use daily to help one study and learn the Tao teachings and put them into action. So there it was, the Tao of Beginning, a fresh start. Thank you for giving me the time to speak with you today. I hope I said something that was of help, and I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday.
Alex, thank you so much. Thank you for your support and your kind words, and for this presentation. I'd like to convey feedback from Tim. Tim says, it's great to have you back in front of the cyber lectern, Alex, and the fact that you are focusing on such a book of wisdom is icing on the cake.
Oh, thank you, Tim, and thank you so much for all your kind words in the past as well.
And Alex, I'm also realizing that not everyone has met you or knows who you are, so if it's okay, I hope you will allow me to talk about you a little bit, introduce you to the people that have not met you yet. And first, I want to express my surprise that it's been 8 years since I met you. Are you sure about that? Because to me, it seems like a much shorter time.
Yeah, I know it does seem like a shorter time, but no, it's been 8 years, and yeah, I'm happy for you to tell people. I will do my best to keep my ego locked in the closet where it belongs.
Well, you are certainly extremely modest, but I will tell everyone that Alex is one of the smartest and most creative guys I know, and that's reflected in the presentation that he gives. I probably don't even need to say it. Everybody can see it just by the way he puts together his PowerPoint presentations. And one thing that I noticed about Alex is that he's very similar in terms of mindset to the way that I approach life. He prefers to not talk about himself. He prefers to just keep quiet and just observe the world as people do their thing. He can learn a lot just by observation. And also, he has more of a secular approach to the Tao. That is, he doesn't need to treat it in a religious fashion, and yet he can still gain a lot of spiritual satisfaction out of the study of the Tao philosophy. And I would say, bravo. He mentioned that he's very much a skeptic. That's the way that I approach life as well. Um, and here in North America, sometimes we say things like, hey, I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. You can't just talk about something. You have to demonstrate it, put it into action. When I see that your deeds are in keeping with your words, then maybe I'll start to invest more credibility, more faith into what you're saying. And let's see. Okay, a little more feedback, and perhaps a question, and maybe a question for me, so I can take that later on. But first, Alex, here's a feedback from Bob, and I'm happy to say that in our meeting I've connected with so many kindred spirits, people that I look up to, people that I admire. Alex, that includes you. Tim, that includes you. Bob, that includes you as well, and everyone else who hasn't spoken up yet. Anyhow, Bob says, I have pulled my book from the shelf. Day 316 today. Effortless action. Love it. Thank you, Alex. And so to talk a little bit about the book, I want to point out for everyone that I have seen other books that are 365 pages that are ordered by calendar date, January 1st all the way to December 31st. I decided to not do it that way because I felt that would be more constraining. I felt that it would be so much more flexible if it's just day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, because any day of the year can be day 1. Day 1 is when you decide it should be. Day 1 is when you made up your mind and say that, well, today I'm starting a new journey, a new leg of my journey in life. I'm going to go ahead and take the first step, and therefore, hey, I'm going to go to day 1 and begin that process. So is today day 316? Yes, it is. Is today day 1? Yes, it is. Is today day 176? Yes, it is. It's whatever day you determine, and it doesn't even really matter if you begin in the middle of the book and just start arbitrarily. And sometimes that's the best way. You can sort of see synchronicity at work when you flip it open to something, and it just so happens to be very fitting with what you are experiencing in life. That's a pretty good sign that you should use that as your starting point. So Alex, a question for you about the Tao of Joy Every Day is the name of the book. So just out of curiosity, Alex, how long ago did you first begin your process with the book? Was it like about a year ago or longer than that?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I couldn't tell you the exact time because it sort of escaped me. But I can tell you, I think I pre-ordered the book, so it was very shortly after it came out, and um, I think when I first went through it, I actually calculated what day of the year, and I couldn't tell you what day of the year it was, I don't remember, but what day of the year I was subsequently on, and sort of started. So I think I started somewhere in the middle and then worked around. And but it's funny. It's like you said. It's good that you didn't put in actual dates, because you can pick it up literally in the middle. It does almost doesn't matter where you begin. You begin wherever you're ready to begin, and that's the great thing about the book. Is it's in a way it's 365 tiny steps that you can take, and it doesn't matter where you start, as you said, and so for I can't tell you exactly how I first went through it, but I know I didn't go from the opening to the end. I actually started in the middle this time, which is unusual for me, because usually I do things in a linear way. But for whatever reason, I decided to calculate the time of the year that it was, and went through that way. And
on the numbering of the different pages from the book, The Tao of Joy Every Day, one thing I should also mention is that I wanted to demonstrate the idea of self-awareness. For day 13, I wanted to talk about the number 13, how it's seen as the unlucky number, and how that we, as self-cultivators, can see right through that, and then take control of that perception and be able to create the lucky number out of the number 13, or indeed any other number. Once you understand how that process works, it is incredibly simple, and you are no longer subject to the prevalent superstitious beliefs of other people around you.
oh yes,
So without the chapters, it's the same.
yeah. I just wanted to say, Derek, I love that chapter. One of the things that I always think of when I reread that chapter is your story about the feng shui master, and how when you practice with the sincere heart, it doesn't matter how many black cats walk in front of you or how many ladders you walk under, that when you practice with the sincere heart, things have a way. You don't have to worry about superstition.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting ending ritual, everybody. 起立，面向佛堂，持架三鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，持架各位点传十一鞠躬，斜翻一鞠躬。Well done, everybody. Thank you so much.